There is a podcast that lies between the imagination of two simple-minded earthlings. Travel with these two longtime friends, Jimbo and 80s E, as they attempt to explore the fifth dimension. Follow along with them as they take the key and unlock the door to the vast space between shadow and substance. This podcast is one of trivia, of insight, and of sounds and ideas from one of the greatest television shows ever produced. You are embarking on a timeless journey. There is your signpost up ahead. You are entering the tragedy of cinema's Twilight Zone.
Did you and Holger decide definitely not to stay in Europe?
Yes. There's a house in Pennsylvania which was left to Holger by an uncle. We plan to live in it.
Oh, excellent. What town is this?
German Corners.
Oh,
what you're witnessing is the curtain raiser to a most extraordinary play. To wit, the signing of a pact, the commencement of a project. The play itself will be performed almost entirely off stage. The final scenes are to be enacted a decade hence and with a different cast. The main character of these final scenes is Ilse, the daughter of Professor and Mrs. Nielsen, age 2. At the moment, she lies sleeping in her crib, unaware of the singular drama in which she is to be involved. 10 years from this moment, Ilse Nielsen is to know the desolating terror of living simultaneously in the world and in the Twilight Zone.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema podcast. I'm your host, Jimbo, and I'm joined with...
Hey, this is Bond in Texas.
This is 80s E in Indy.
And welcome to the fifth dimension.
That's right.
The Twilight Zone.
Back after a week off. How you guys been okay?
Well, they haven't had a week off because we
never know.
He's back to back to back to back to back, right, Eric?
Sure.
Eric,
we'll find out.
Get them all edited.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry about
So what
that.
are we all? Are we already up to episode 5?
We are, in fact. Episode
we are
5.
just crushing it this year.
Yeah, we're doing a lot better, honestly, than we have in years past. I mean,
the past 5 years.
Yeah, we're doing a lot better. So there's already some discrepancy out of the box because I don't know if you guys noticed, but when I go to IMDb, when I go to Fandango on how we watch this episode, it's entitled The Mute, but when I go into IMDb, it's entitled just Mute. So already we've got a little discrepancy even on the title as we start off this evening, but we'll make it through.
I watch my episodes through Paramount Plus, and it's called The Mute.
Okay.
I will let you know. I watched my episode on mute with subtitles just so I could get the full effect.
Yeah.
Get the full Ilsa.
So this is the Twilight Zone, season number 4, episode number 5, as Jimbo referenced before, and it's entitled, we're going to call it Mute, and it comes in with an IMDb rating of 6.5 for this episode. It was directed by Stuart Rosenberg, and it was actually directed by Stuart Rosenberg and written by Richard Matheson. I think Richard Matheson has the next 2 episodes. We got some featured music by Fred Steiner, and our original air date for this particular episode was January the 31st, 1963. And a lot of these numbers and figures are the same. The production cost was $103,000, $103,494 to be exact. We got 2 days of rehearsal, September 27th and 28th of 1962. And so this one is, well, actually from the time of rehearsal and filming, there wasn't a whole lot of time, maybe 3 months. So dates of filming for this episode were October the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 8th. So lots of days of filming. I don't want to bore you with a lot of the technical stuff. I'm going to move on and let Jimbo give us a plot summary if he can for this.
Before we go, I have my hand raised on the screen here, Eric.
Sorry.
I just wanted to point to see that. But I have a question for you two.
Okay.
Who, so far in our Twilight Zone saga, do you think wrote or produced the better episodes? Richard Matheson or Charles Beaumont?
I'm liking this one so far, so I guess I would have to say Matheson because this is a pretty good episode.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the full numbers, like for each director or, each writer, like how the number of episodes that they
I'd
wrote.
have to see like a list of all the episodes.
That's a question I really can't answer without having more information.
Right? Didn't Matheson do The Howling Man?
Not sure. That'd be an interesting thing to look up, though.
We'll come back to that next episode.
Yeah, maybe we should just...
We'll have a little question and answer session.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Bond's a teacher. I figured he would.
I do know that he wrote this episode in 1962, a short story.
Next one or two.
And the next one, but I don't know the history of all of his short stories.
Jimbo, give us a plot summary of this one.
Absolutely, sir.
And then I'll plug along with this day in history.
So sometime after World War II, a small group of people make a pact to develop their telepathic abilities as a means of communicating, foregoing any type of oral communication. One couple, the Nilsons, announced that they are migrating to a small town in the USA, German Corners, Pennsylvania, in fact. After a tragic fire at their house 10 years later, Sheriff Harry Wheeler and his wife, Cora, take in the only survivor, the now orphaned Ilsa Nilsson. The young girl has never learned to speak, always using telepathy to communicate with her parents. They don't quite understand why Ilsa won't speak to them, and Cora sees her as a replacement for their daughter, whom she lost in an accident some years ago. I do believe it was a drowning accident, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yep. So when they enroll Ilsa in school, her teacher is determined to make her act like all the other children.
All right.
That teacher is mean.
Yeah, we're going to get to her. Don't worry. Let's get some background on what telepathy is. I looked it up a little bit just to get a little background on it. So I went back as far as the 18th and 19th century. It was called mesmerism or spiritualism then. It's the I guess you call that semi-modern concept. It began forming in Europe, and there was this guy named Franz Anton Mesmer. He proposed an animal magnetism, and this was in the 1700s, and he claimed that invisible forces connected to living beings. And so in the 1800s, this thing called the spiritualist movement popularized seances, and that will come up in our episodes, and mental communication with spirits. So in 1882, the Society for I can't even pronounce that word, I don't know. It was a research that was founded in London to scientifically investigate psychic phenomenon. So the etymology of the word telepathy, the term actually was coined by a guy named Frederick W.H. Myers, and it comes from the Greek tele, which means distant, and pathos, which means feeling or perception. So distant feeling or perception is telepathy. Myers used it to describe the transfer of thoughts or feelings between individuals without sensory interaction. So there you go. Now you guys are one notch smarter about the word telepathy.
Well, I have a question. Or a statement. Have you ever heard of those people that, they call it mass, where everybody gets together and they think of a certain, or even in parts of the world, they all think of the same thing at the same time to manifest it. What is that called?
Don't know.
I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
I know what you're thinking about, but I can't remember the name offhand.
All right. So
it's like if enough people believe in it, then it happens.
becomes true. Well, I mean, that's what they say poltergeist are, that it's.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
And like Slender Man and those kind of things.
Well, like a poltergeist is something that is brought in, enough people feel ill about it in your house that it becomes violent, and it's a manifestation that you brought on yourself.
Okay.
It's not an evil spirit per se. It's a manifestation of what you brought in through your psychological thoughts, I guess.
So a sort of a form of telepathy then, right?
Right. So that brings me to, but that brings me to another. Have you guys ever been hypnotized? Do you believe in hypnotism?
No, I'm afraid to be hypnotized.
Yeah, I've never been hypnotized either.
I mean, you see those people that get hypnotized, they walk around and cluck like a chicken on the stage, and then when I snap my fingers, it'll be back to normal, right?
Right.
So that's my least worry, is acting like a chicken in front of people. Because everything I've seen, it always goes wrong. And next thing you know, I'm robbing banks, or I'm walking on the ledge of a building or something.
Yeah.
It's not worth the risk, man. I'm like, nope. Either that, or I'll confess something I did like when I was 7.
Yeah.
So nope, not going to risk it. It's not worth the risk.
All right, let's talk about the release date. You guys ready for our favorite segment in the episode?
Sure.
On this day in history. Jimbo, are you enjoying the Winter Olympics this year?
You know what? I love the Winter Olympics. I like them more than the Summer Olympics. How about that skater, dude? The dude that's doing all the backflips, landing on one leg, and then he crashes twice in the same.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Frenchman that was downhill skiing and he ran into the gate. Did you see that one?
Oh, yeah. There's been some. And what about what's her head? Lindsay, whatever, that was trying to ski on a torn ACL or something. And
then she ended up in the hospital.
I was like, I was watching
a speed skater now. She crashed 3 times in the same race.
I love speed skating, but the one that my favorite is the bobsled, right? Or the luge, or they call it the skeleton now, where they go face first, which is ridiculous. But and I love curling. I think curling would be so fun. We need to find an indoor curling duo. It can be you, and I can be like, go. You'll be sweep, and then pow.
Well, I just know that
are amazing.
That Frenchman caught that gate right in the groin, and they had audio, and he was
and he's now a French woman.
Yeah, now you know why. So the reason why I brought that up is on this date, January 31st, the date of our episode, January 31st, 1924 was the inaugural first Winter Olympics. I'm sure that's for modern times, which 1924, go back 102 years ago. So on this day, January 31st, 1934, FDR, he devalues the dollar relative to gold. He set it at $35 an ounce for gold. So there's a lot of political controversy surrounding that today in our monetary system.
Are you typing?
Yeah, I'm
that's
hearing
a storm in the background.
Are you having a hailstorm out there in Texas?
It's like a hailstorm / thunderstorm.
Oh my!
I kept hearing like
yes, I'm taking all of this down.
I thought you were writing it in Braille or something.
No, there's a storm in South Texas right now.
Yeah, it's really coming down.
That was I can hear it like pounding off the glass, and so I might not be here. If I'm here, I'm here. If not,
we'll look for you in Oz.
Look for me in Oz.
Just call him the mute. Connection.
Yeah.
So January 31st, 1949 was the first U.S. daytime soap entitled "All My Children," or actually it was called "These Are My Children" back then, and it premiered on NBC in Chicago, Illinois. That was 1949. December 31st, 1999, Seth MacFarlane's Family Guy first airs on Fox TV. You guys fans of Family Guy? It's pretty funny.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's all right. It seems to me that all we see is violence and movies and sex on TV.
Man, that's really good.
Where are those good old-fashioned values on which we used to rely?
Boy, we're in rare form tonight.
Oh, if they could only see us now.
January 31st, moving along, I just got some sports trivia for you guys. January 31st, the year 2000, linebacker Ray Lewis. He was involved in a fight resulting in the deaths of Jacinth Baker and Richard Lawler. Lewis was indicted 11 days later on murder and assault charges. Murder charges were later dropped, though.
I would just like to say Richard Lawler, no relation to Jerry the King Lawler.
Jerry the King Lawler? Yeah,
that would have went totally different for Ray Lewis if that was Jerry the King Lawler.
Yeah.
I agree.
His name was spelled Lollar. I don't know if Jerry Lawler's spelled Lalure. I don't know. January 31st, 2015. This is interesting. Sports trivia. 17-year-old Lydia Ko of New Zealand becomes the youngest golfer in men's or women's golf history to be ranked number 1 in the world. 17 years old, number one golfer.
What year was that?
This was in 2015.
Huh.
So I would have assumed it was Tiger Woods, just probably off the top of my head. But
well, I mean, his son's playing pretty good right now too, but I think he's a little older now, right?
Charlie, yeah. He's pretty good. January the 31st, 2024, Caitlin Clark posts 35 points and 10 assists for Iowa against Northwestern, breaking the Big Ten all-time scoring record. So there's your sports. And I don't know what it is for birthdays, but there were a lot of baseball players born on January 31st. So we got Jackie Robinson, Hall of Famers. Jackie Robinson, Ernie Banks, Nolan Ryan.
Oh, the Rhino Express, man, my favorite pitcher of all time, man.
Yeah. And we got one that sticks out like a sore thumb. He's not an athlete, but an actor and singer. January 31st, 1981, American singer Justin Timberlake.
I thought he was going to say sticks out like a thumb like George Bush.
He's 45 years old. And all of the baseball players are all deceased except Nolan Ryan. He was born in 1947, and he is currently 79 years old. So that concludes this day in history. Bond, please give us the cast of this episode. I am locked in and ready to hear from you.
No problem, man. Season 4, episode 5, The Mute, or Mute, depending on where you're watching it. Here, directed by Stuart Rosenberry. He also directed Cool Hand Luke in 1967. And this one stars Anne Gillian as Ilsa Nielsen. I didn't know that when I was watching it.
I didn't either.
I was watching it as just a little blonde girl.
Yeah, she's pretty
young. It wasn't
young.
until I did some research, and I was like, hey, that's Anne Gillian. For those that don't know, Anne Gillian was in Mr. Mom.
One of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She was the blonde neighbor that kept like hitting on him whenever he was doing household chores.
He's married. So were we once.
Exactly, man. She was also on the 80s sitcom It's a Living, and she won an Emmy for playing herself in the Anne Gillian story, all about her struggles with cancer, breast cancer.
Yep, I remember that.
And very, very impressive.
Do you guys think that she was attractive?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Well, not in this episode.
No, yeah, let's.
No, Bob.
With current events being what they are, yeah, let's.
Well, we're going to talk about that when we go to my thoughts and feelings for this episode.
Really?
So,
okay,
we'll get there.
But I would say yes, as an adult, she was very attractive. It also stars Claudia Breyer as Frau Nielsen.
Frau.
Isn't Frau like just like Mrs.?
I think
she doesn't
so.
have a name?
Or Miss.
Yeah.
Or Miss.
Yeah, so Frau Nielsen.
I only took 1 year of German, so a little hazy.
I don't think German's offered in South Texas. We get Spanish.
Yeah.
She was in
Spanish in high school, and I barely. Buenos noches, Taco Bell is about all I remember.
Squeaked by.
Well, that's not good news, because when we go Facebook Live, you're in charge of the Spanish subtitles.
Yeah, I mean, the halftime show at the Super Bowl, dude. Like, you got to get with it.
I recognized her because she's in Psycho 2.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
really?
She's in Psycho 2. She plays, I believe it's the mom, right? The mom that gets killed.
I know it's been a while since I saw that one.
And she was also in a movie called I Was a Teenage Frankenstein, which I have not seen, but I want to see it.
It's a great movie.
It's a good one.
My dad would be great on a podcast with us on that one.
Huh, really?
Nice.
Hear that, Art?
Robert,
get a hold of us.
that's right. Get a hold of us.
.com.
And we'll all watch
when
I
you're
Was a Teenage Frankenstein together with Claudia Breyer. Robert Boone played Holger Nielsen. He was in your favorite episode of Twilight Zone, Death's Head Revisited.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's I believe you guys always agree that that's one of the best episodes out there.
It's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Overton played Harry Wheeler. Frank Overton. He was also in the movie 12 O'Clock High, To Killing Mockingbird, and he was in the Twilight Zone episode Walking Distance, which was a season 1 episode, I believe.
It was, indeed.
Right, early season 1. And get this. Unfortunately, he died not too long after making this episode.
Really?
Yeah, because You said this came out in what, 65, 64?
63.
Right? Okay. He died a few years later. At the age of 49, he had cancer.
Wow.
So at 49, that's pretty bad.
Cancer
Speaking of,
does
yes.
not take ages. They take what they want.
Yeah.
And we just lost a couple this week. You know, James Vanderbeek died.
Yep.
And
That's true.
The lead singer for, help me out, was it Three Doors Down or?
I'm not sure.
I can't think of the name of it.
I think it was was it Matchbox 20, maybe?
No, it's either Three Doors Down or let me look it up now.
Okay. Barbara Baxley plays Cora Wheeler. She was in the movie Nora Ray. She was in the movie Norma Ray, and she was in Exorcist 3, which I don't know if I've seen Exorcist 3.
That makes sense. I haven't seen it either.
Exorcist 2, but I don't think I've seen Exorcist 3
yet.
It's the summer of sequels coming. Oscar Beregi played Professor Carl Warner. He was also in Death's Head Revisited.
Yes, he was.
And he was in the Rip Van Winkle caper.
Yes, he was.
You like that one?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much our cast on that one. There's a couple other minor characters that can make a line or two, but those are like the main ones, right?
Yeah.
And I believe there's an Olivia, I forgot her last name, Olivia. She plays Mrs. Frank, the teacher. I did some research on her. She was on a lot of TV shows, no really big movies or anything, just TV shows.
I think
it was Brad Arnold, Three Doors Down singer.
Okay, you got it right then. Yeah.
Oh,
the Bond, the lady that you just mentioned, what was her name again?
Olivia?
Olivia. I think she was a sort of an aristocrat. I think she was if I'm not mistaken, I have to look deep dive on her, but she came from a family with money, and she didn't have a whole lot of acting credits, but boy, she really separated herself in this episode. I really love to hate that teacher in this episode. So.
Oh yeah, I took lots of notes on her.
Yeah. So let's launch in. Let's talk a little bit about how this plot came together in a few acts. So this one starts a little different. It has sort of a prologue where I would call it the pact at the beginning. This is the secret society, if you want to call it. They gather around a round table, and the parents agree to deny their children's speech. And telepathy is framed as purity, and voices as corruption, kind of. These people make a vow that they're going to raise their families to only speak through telepathy and not through actual audible words. And they all sign like this contract. Mm-hmm. And we launch into that. So it's a little different. So that the parents are voting, and so there's a little bit of dissent. Like a few of the parents raise some concerns, like, well, what's this going to do to our kids, like psychologically? And, they have some questions, but they all end up agreeing at the end to sign this contract that they're forming this pact. And then if you remember in the introduction audio that I played earlier, there's a particular couple that are moving. This is, I think, in Europe somewhere. And this particular couple who are Ilsa's parents, who Ilsa at the time, Rod tells us, is like 2 years old. They are going to move to Pennsylvania in like a German part of Pennsylvania. The German migration in Pennsylvania, if you're familiar, there's a lot of German population nestled in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I'm totally against them moving. I think they should have stayed in Europe. I mean, if you were going to really have this experiment where like everybody around you is not going to talk, they're just going to think to you, then why would you move clear across the world? Wouldn't you just stay there?
Yeah.
And almost like the village type thing where no one ever leaves. Everybody just thinks to each other.
Right.
But I thought it was really cool the way that the dad was training her.
Yeah.
We'll get to it, I'm sure. But I thought that was really interesting.
So it's a cult of sorts. I see Dwight Schrute behind Jimbo here. He was thick in the German Pennsylvania, wasn't he? In the office, like he had roots. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Pennsylvania Dutch.
Yeah, Pennsylvania Dutch. That's what maybe it wasn't German. It was Dutch. I'm sorry. So the highlighted scene, right, and kind of in the prologue, is the parents are silently voting, and then Ilsa is unseen at this point. Rod gives us, like I said, he gives us the the information. So we come to Act 1. It's sort of a jarring Act 1. There's a ferocious house fire that leaves this rural home in ashes. The firefighters find no survivors inside, but there's 12-year-old Ilsa. She's discovered outside, unharmed, but her parents are dead. And she is taken in by, we meet Sheriff Harry Wheeler and his wife Cora. Those are the first couple of characters that were introduced because Harry Wheeler is the sheriff of the town, and he's kind of, when the call comes in that the fire has happened, he's sort of disgruntled a little bit. And he's like, I don't know why these Nielsen's, they lived outside of town, why they had to live so far away. So he tells, I don't know, I guess it was the fire chief on the phone, like, I'm going to be there in, 10 minutes. But they discover Ilsa when they get to the fire, which this is interesting too. Did you guys notice? I don't know if I noticed this. The fire truck shows up, the sirens are wailing and everything. The hoses get pulled off the truck. The fire scene's probably maybe a minute and a half long. Not an ounce of water is sprayed on this house at all. The sheriff Harry, he kicks in the door and he's like, they'll never make it or something like that. Yeah. And it's like, nobody squirted any water on the fire.
It's a volunteer fire department too. So they probably got there and they're like, nope.
Right. But you got to remember how far does a building have to go where it's not worth even watering?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. By the time they got there, it's too late.
Yeah. Well, when do you say, oh, well, this is just going to be a waste of water? They're obviously dead. Do you just let it burn and smolder and then burn out?
Yeah, he did say, don't worry about the house, protect the trees around the house, or he said something like that.
So my question is, did Elsa start the fire? Did she kill her parents?
So you're adding.
I know that. I know personally that we didn't start the fire. It was always burning.
Jimbo did and Eric did. Bond's wearing a spinny head.
That would have been a good twist, though.
Right.
If at the end of the episode we discover that Ilsa
every time throughout the episode they show up playing with matches.
Is when you don't know what's going on, and she goes to the school, and then you see the teacher looking out of her house window, and you see her like Carrie look in the window in the house. She just goes.
Yeah, that'd have been cool.
The teacher inside.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
So Ilsa never. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say she's not burned at all. She's not hurt at all.
That's right.
Her little nightgown thing she's wearing is not scorched or smoke.
So how did she get out? Did they telepathically we're gonna raise her and carry her out?
I don't think they can move things with their mind. They can just think things with their mind.
Right. So how did she get out? They throw her out the door, out the window?
I think it's implied that the dad used telepathy to guide her out of the house and save her life. That was the impression.
So he just thought to himself, Ilsa, go out the back door.
Yeah, right.
Well, why, Papa? It's cold.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's that part right there was kind of confusing. Like, she should have some smoot or some fringes, like
where she crawled out on her hands and knees.
Something.
She's untouched.
I don't even know if she has any dirt on the back of her dress where she was laying down either. Right.
Which reinforces your theory that she started the fire from the outside.
She was outside the house when it started.
Right. And probably barred the door and told her dad telepathically, don't worry, I'll keep you warm.
Yeah. So we've established that Ilsa never speaks. The doctors confirm that she is physically capable. The Wheelers take her in, right? They sort of assume the role of Ilsa's parents. They bring her home after this traumatic incident in her life. Sort of the consensus is that they conclude that she's kind of a victim of neglect, that her parents were sort of negligent in their care for her. But meanwhile, Harry discovers these strange unopened letters that are addressed to the Nielsens from various countries through a connection that he had from the post office. And I got something more to say about that in a second, but we'll get to that in a minute. Something that really, really irked me in this episode. But we understand throughout the course of the episode that Ilsa is mute not by injury or fear, but she's been raised to communicate only through telepathy, taught to exchange meaning without words and spoken language. It feels painful and evasive and chaotic to her. When she hears actual audible voices, it's all mixed up and gargled, and she doesn't know what to make of it. She communicates best.
I was kind of confused about that part. So does that imply that the parents never spoke out loud in front of her at all? Because we know the parents can speak, because all the parents are communicating
from the beginning. Yeah.
We're going to raise our children to, telepathically. So does that mean, because you're right, it bothers her whenever she hears the spoken word. It hurts her ears. So
why doesn't the telephone or the sirens or none of that bothers her, but it's only voices?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or the birds chirping or something, right?
Yeah.
Dogs barking.
So a highlighted scene here in Act 1 is late night. Cora Wheeler, she gently speaks to Ilsa. She's trying to comfort her because Ilsa is scared. And through her telepathy, somehow, you guys probably remember this scene better than I do, but she realizes that her parents are dead. Ultimately, she tries to call out to them through her mind, and then she's not getting any responses.
Well, I have a question. Doesn't somehow, because think about it, I think Ilsa, she can almost like travel, like astral project, because it shows her going to the front of the cabin, right? And you see the detective and the fireman talking like, well, the parents are dead, that poor girl or whatever. Right. And then she comes back to her room or whatever, right?
That's a good point.
She starts screaming. So she can.
It's like she can see into the future or see into the past. It's not just communication.
She can read. She doesn't have to be close by just to read thoughts. She can be anywhere and read your thoughts.
Right.
But then let me throw this question to you now. If that's the case, then why couldn't the German people across the ocean use telepathy to contact her telepathically?
And your camera just zoomed in on your face for emphasis on that question.
I know, that's very dramatic.
I made that because I had the hand out like this, and I brought it back in like this, and I said, why couldn't the German people do that? I mean, right?
This could have been a 30-minute episode if she could have just communicated to the people in Europe.
If she just thought
30 minutes would be 3-minute act done, right?
Yeah.
Does she know about the people in Europe? Does Ilsa know about the people in Europe? Because they left when she was like 2.
Right.
So
I don't think so.
Any memory of them.
I would say probably not.
So she's not going to reach out. They might reach out to her, but even then, they would reach out to her parents and say, "We haven't heard anything in 3 weeks."
But what do you think about this too? Why were the people in Germany writing to the parents?
Yeah, and did the parents
have to think it to the parents?
Just think it to the parents, unless
they're not strong enough. That's why.
Unless there's a range that it doesn't work.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So let's say the parents could only communicate telepathically 20-25%.
Okay.
And so the whole experiment, the whole theory behind the episode is, if we could only do like 25%, imagine what our children could do if they never learned to speak and only communicated telepathically. They would be so much stronger than us. So she's able to hear the thoughts of the firemen clear across town. She's able to, but the adults aren't, because they haven't developed that, telepathy to that degree. They've only got a limited amount of telepathy.
Yeah.
So they're able to, if they're in the same room, go, Ilsa, do you remember so-and-so? But that's about it. They can't, they communicate like if they're right next to each other. Should we tell them about so-and-so? That's all they can do.
Is this also where she falls out of the bed or stand up or whatever, and Cora comes running in, says, what's wrong, and grabs her, hugs her or whatever? Is this the part where Cora thinks something and Elsa hears her thoughts?
Yeah, this is the first time I think she hears her thoughts.
So let me ask you.
She finds out about Cora's daughter that way.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. To me, the teacher and the mom almost look like they're the same age. Do you think that the mom, Cora, had some of this training back in her youth too?
I don't know, but I think the teacher did for sure.
Well, we know the teacher did, because the teacher said, my parents tried to do this to me, and I'm not going to, you know what I mean? So I didn't
try to train me as a medium.
I didn't know if maybe the mom had a little bit of that too going on.
I think the gate, here's my interpretation. I think the gate to telepathy was more open for Cora because of the loss of her daughter. And she probably tried to communicate with her dead daughter that way. And then it sort of transposed onto Ilsa when she came. And because it's established early that they have this connection, right? As mother-daughter like connection.
Yeah, and I think it has to do with desire to communicate too. It's like if you walk in the room going, I don't believe it, it's not possible, you're not going to hear anything.
But
if you walk in thinking it's possible and wanting it to happen, you're more open to it, then you're more likely to hear something.
But do you think it's stronger because of the love factor?
Probably.
Could be.
I think so.
Could be.
You think it's a conduit, maybe?
That's a good way to look at it because her parents loved her. They wanted her real parents, but they wanted to establish this main way of communication. So yeah, maybe love is a driving force for it.
I hope so, because I can hear your thoughts and it's very sweet. Thanks guys.
I think we're overthinking this a little bit. Where are we? So we've established, I think Jimbo brought us up to this communication between Cora and Ilsa. And, Cora tries to comfort her, to settle her mind. She reaches out. And so this, I guess a theme, you can call it, of loneliness of a child cut off from her true language. And she starts to, the intensity starts to build. So that we go to act number 2. And this is where I have a real nitpick. So I'll read this paragraph. Using return address from the unopened letters, Harry writes to possible relatives. Unknown to him, the letters are a secret society devoting to cultivating humanity's latent telepathic abilities. Ilsa's parents were members. Their children were raised apart from spoken language entirely, so we've already kind of covered that. Here's my nitpick. When Harry Wheeler goes to write the potential relatives abroad, he doesn't put a return address on the envelope when placing them by the mailbox. And there's a clear close-up shot of that. There's no return address. How are they to reply back to him unless he wrote his address on the actual body of the letter, and thus there's no need for Cora to burn them, because the people he wants to write back, they won't know where to write back to him.
Well, you got to remember, the people have been writing this whole time, right, back and forth.
Right, and that's how he established who he knows to write to, because they left return addresses, but he doesn't do it himself.
But you got to remember, I've sent out letters in my youth that didn't have a return address. You didn't always have to have a return address.
We don't like people like you. This hits right close to home of what I do every day.
I know, but is it true? Some people do not put a return address on there, right?
Well, of course, but that's if Harry, you get what I'm saying? If Harry Wheeler, if he wants a response, he's going to have to put his return address, because they don't know where to send their letter.
Let me ask you a question.
And the sheriff should know
this, because Eric is in this field, kind of. So let's say I write a letter with no return address, but let's say Bond, like me and Bond have been communicating in Texas this whole time, and Bond's house burns down. Okay, and you investigate Bond's, and you know that he's been writing me. So you write me and say, hey, Bond died or whatever in this fire. And then
I hate this scenario.
But I'm just saying, if I write back and I send it to Bond's address, are they going to forward that to like the post office?
Most likely. But why wouldn't they? I don't know what the post office is, what their protocol is. But if the house is burned down and the people have been sending mail to a house that's burned down now, that sheriff needs to write his address. We're getting really off track here. We're really
no, that's fine. But I'm just saying, I didn't know if, even though he didn't put a return address, let's just, hey, these people died, and let's say they have another letter on the way from Germany that gets to the house that is burned down.
It will go by default back to the post office if they do it like we do, and then eventually it'll get returned to sender. once the when the mailman goes by the house and sees this pile of ash, he's going to go, this has got to go back to the sender. And one last thing, just for a heads up.
Public service announcement?
Yeah, public service announcement. Thank you. If you live in an apartment and you've lived in an apartment for 10 years, it helps when you put your apartment number and or letter on your address. It helps you get your stuff a lot faster. Just FYI.
So I know we're getting off track, but what I do is I reverse the addresses. I put my address as the sender or as the destination, and I put where I want the letter to go in the return address. And then I don't put a stamp on it.
That's awesome. We love people like you.
And I don't put a stamp on it because you know what happens? It gets returned to sender, which is the person I wanted to go to at first.
Return to sender.
Return to sender.
All right. Sorry for that big, long rabbit trail. But that was
a rabbit trail, didn't we? Jeez.
That was a big nitpick for me, only because I work in the industry. And I was like, I don't know what this guy expects. Maybe he's waiting for telepathy to hit him because
Why does she burn the letters instead of just rip them up or throw them away?
It's a good question.
It's because evidence. I mean, the fact that she was burning it up is the reason she gets busted. Because Ilsa sees her burning the letters, but if she would just rip them up and throw them away, I mean, her husband's not going through the garbage looking for discarded letters.
Well, maybe it's the man's job to take the trash out. Yeah. She didn't want to take any chances.
Yeah, that's a blue job, as my daughter would say. No, that's a blue job. Trash, cutting the grass. No, those are all blue jobs. All right, boy. Let's get back on the track here. So Cora, she grows deeply attached to Ilsa, projecting her grief and maternal longing onto the girl. When the replies fail to arrive, gee, I wonder why, Harry assumes no relatives exist. And in truth, Cora intercepts and burns, we already talked about this, the incoming letters, afraid of losing Ilsa. Ilsa witnesses the destruction, as we talked about also, and she understands everything but can't speak or write to Harry. She's really hurt and disappointed when she sees her tearing up the letters. Like, she's waiting on these people to come get her so that she can go live in their little colony overseas. So Harry enrolls her in school. Her teacher, is this right? Mrs. O'Connell, is that the right name?
Should be Mrs. Frank.
Should be Mrs. Frank, that's right. Okay. Mrs. Frank, that's error there.
Frank.
Miss Frank. Was she? I don't know. Was she German? So I'll let you guys take it from there. The teacher and go. She undermines.
Well, so
everything.
All started off. Here we go.
Yeah, please tell us about this teacher.
Cora, the mother, well, the wannabe mother, I guess we'll call her right now, brings in Ilsa to school. It's almost like a one-room schoolhouse, right? But I think all the kids are the same age. I don't know. But they're all in this big classroom. And the teacher's like, well, this is our new student, Ilsa. Ilsa, come all the way down to the front, right? And all the kids are looking at it. And the mom's like, well, can I just stay for a little bit? Maybe it'll help. She's like, no, trust me. It'd be better if you just go. Now, I remember this because this is a personal story that happened to me when I took my daughter to her first day of preschool. And I took her in there and sat her down, and she's scared to death with all the other kids around. And the teacher's like, and she's clinging on to me. And so I said, well, do I need to stay? She's like, no, it's just better if you go. So she gets this out of the way. Right. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I shut the door, I see my daughter running around the room screaming, oh, but it's hard when you cause you can see that Cora cares for Ilsa right here too, I think, cause she wants to make sure she's doing the right thing, because what's Ilsa saying in her head? Please don't make me go to school. Please don't make me go there. Please don't make me go there. Please don't make, So, and then you see her walking down to the front, and all the kids are sticking their head in the aisle, looking at her on both sides, which is a cool shot cinematography wise. And she comes all the way down to the front, and she says, doesn't she make her get in front of the class and say, what's your name?
Yeah.
And she just stands there.
Well, she tells all the kids that she doesn't talk. her mother and father never taught her how to talk.
So she's going to learn with our help.
She's going to learn. We're going to shove it down her throat.
Yeah, no kidding.
What's her name? Elsa.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Right?
It was like that's all they did in class all day long.
Talk about
no
bullying.
math, no history. It was literally the whole class just repeating her name over and over again.
And so she goes and she's like, you'll learn how to talk and do everything like the rest of us, right? And I think it's the second day of school, if I remember correctly. She's daydreaming, right? She's got her book out and she's having the thought. And this is my favorite part of the episode. She's going back about because the teacher says something like she doesn't learn like the rest of us, and Elsa doesn't understand why she's not learning like her father taught her. Because if you remember, they show Elsa sitting in her dad's office. He's behind there, and he pulls out this picture of a boat. And he's telling her telepathically, what's this? Think, what is this? And then you see the boat start going into motion in the ocean. You know what I mean?
That was my favorite special effect.
And that is my prop. I'm taking the picture of the boat moving in the ocean. Okay. I had to jump on that real quick. But I was like, so that right there tells me not only are they telepathic, but they can move objects too, right?
Yeah, it would seem that way.
Right.
Yeah.
So Elsa's probably thinking these people are stupid. Why don't they understand and learn the way I do? Because I had a really cool teacher. She's like, but then again, she gets her up front again, and all right, class, we're going to make sure. What's her name again? Elsa. Your name, Elsa. Your name, And so the class is dismissed. They all leave except the teacher stops Elsa at the door.
This is
where you really start getting mad at this teacher, because she puts that hand up on the door to block her. She said, Elsa, I know what you are because my parents did that to me too. And my father tried to do that to me, but luckily with enough time and patience, I learned how to break away from that and adapt to society, basically. And she's like, I will break you too, or whatever. And I'm like, I hate this lady.
I must break you.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's.
Well, the teacher was wrong. She's not a seance person. Yeah, she's not trying to dredge up the dead.
Medium.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, oh yeah, your parents tried to teach you how to speak to the dead, but no. Man, I was taking notes left and right with this teacher. I was like, man, this is the way I want my fourth grade classroom, just like this. And all the kids silent, all the kids sitting up straight, paying attention. I mean, did you see some of the background signs in the classroom? There was a sign that says, brush your teeth.
Yes.
She had a sign in her classroom that said, brush your teeth. And then she had the word silence on the chalkboard. Like you could tell it's been erased, but you could still kind of read it. It said silence. She was like, stand up straight.
I wish at this point, Elsa would have spoken and said, no, if I was a medium, I would be talking to my dead parents right now instead of you, is what I would have said. But
well, if she doesn't have telekinesis, because if she did, she would have used it against this teacher. If she was able to move objects, she would have knocked things off that teacher's desk. She would have shattered a window or something.
I wish she would.
It would have been nice if she would have gotten angry and like looked at the window and you'd just see like a crack.
I know. That would have been.
But that teacher was so mean and so embarrassing. Like she shames Ilsa all the time. And then I felt sorry for that little boy who was trying to read about boats and sailors because he was really struggling.
Sounds like me.
Like, this kid's 12.
And this is where when the teacher's literally Elsa's mom or Cora walks in, right? And she's like, hey, did you have a good day? And she's like,
how was your day at school?
Just great in school, right?
She's doing wonderful.
She's learning.
Yeah.
What a liar.
Man. I mean, we've all had a teacher like that, though.
Oh,
right?
Trust me.
Oh, I know. We had a lot of mistakes.
If you didn't have a teacher like that, that means you are a teacher like that.
Eric, do you want to drop a name?
No, I'll wait to the end to give the teacher review. You guys bring out a lot of good points, though. You pretty much covered all the bases with this lady.
Kind of remind me of the Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz, or the lady that she bit your dog. Your dog bit you.
Right.
Yeah.
Miss Amira Gulch.
Yeah. So let's move on to Act 3, and let's come to a climax and resolution here in this particular episode. So concerned by the sudden silence from the Nielsen's, Carl and Frau Maria Werner, Ilsa's godparents and fellow society members from Austria, they traveled to investigate because they haven't heard from their friends, the Nielsen's, in quite some time. And they meet Ilsa and attempt to communicate with her telepathically. Well, let's back up a notch here. So they arrive in the town where they live, and they get off at the bus station, I think it is. And then they get hooked up with the sheriff, Sheriff Harry. And then he calls Cora. I thought that was a pretty good scene. Like, this is probably the only time in the episode where Cora's like happy and she's, what's going on, Harry? Tell me what's going on. And when she's not wailing and crying and being really, I guess she probably was sad and bereaved all of her life because she lost her daughter. But anyway, she's giddy and happy, but Harry tells her the bad news that, Carl and Frau, they're on the way to the house. And so she gets really depressed at that point. They come in the house, they meet the parents, and then Ilsa comes into the room, and then they try to talk to her telepathically, but you can tell that the telepathy is more, maybe she's sort of tipping. She's at a tipping point because the telepathy is sort of mixed in her head now. She can't hear it as clearly. And anything, guys?
Yeah, she's struggling with it at this point. One of the scenes that we failed to talk about at the classroom is the teacher tells all the kids to think Ilsa's name. Don't say it, just think it. Mm-hmm. And so they telepathically try to speak to her. And that's exactly what this couple does from Austria. When they come in, they're trying to speak to her telepathically too. And you're right, it is kind of garbled now. It's not as clear as it once was. Yep. You think that she would be really anxious to share with this couple everything that's happened to her and just speak to her like crazy telepathically. It reminds me of if you come from let's say you came from another country and you didn't speak English. Mm-hmm. And you're an orphan. My nephew and my niece, they're adopted. One's from Korea, one's from Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And when they came to America, they didn't speak a lick of English, of course. Mm-hmm. And so they were thrown into this situation where everyone around them spoke English. They didn't recognize the language. I think my niece was 2 or 3 years old when this happened. And it's so cool because she didn't understand any English at all. But when they went to a Vietnamese restaurant, she was sitting there as a 3-year-old, with my brother and his wife.
Right.
And the people at the restaurant that work at the restaurant, the chef and the waitresses, were speaking to each other in Vietnamese. Uh-huh. And my brother said all of a sudden, her eyes just lit up.
Right.
And she turned her head oh, I can understand them.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know what I'm saying? And it was like that moment of, this is the first thing I've been able to understand someone saying in months.
It feels like home again, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what this episode reminded me of, is when she hears telepathically this couple talking to her, it would be like the first thing she understood in a long time.
So for lack of a better term, it's overwhelming for her. So let's hear this climactic part in the episode.
My name is Ilsa. 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 Don't cry, baby.
Well, Elsa, do you want to build a snowman so we can go out and play?
So she has a little bit of a breakdown there at the end. Oh, yeah. It's our climactic scene.
Is that her only speaking lines in the whole episode?
It is.
Yep.
It's a good catch.
Yeah, the only thing she says is she only had one line to memorize.
I don't want to say anything, but the teacher was right. She taught her.
she got through to her.
Say what you will about her methods.
Yeah.
Right. Methods is madness, but it works.
So the Werners are kind of heartbroken, and they decide that they're not going to try to adopt Ilsa, and that they don't have any rights to her. They decide to go back, I guess, to Austria, and they feel like the Wheelers are probably a better fit, probably because they see that Cora has
love is what
a love for
the
her.
lady says.
Yeah,
love
exactly.
is better than what she would be subject to, because the other children are so far ahead of her. It'd be hard for her, to adapt to where they are.
So however flawed it is, they give Ilsa a future with the Wheelers. And then we have our closing.
So my question to 80s is she ruined? Do they just see her as ruined once she can speak, once she can talk?
Possibly.
They're like, well, she's ruined. I mean, her part of the experiment is just a scrap because that's it. No use taking her back to Austria now because she can speak.
She's worthless to us at this point.
Yeah,
that's kind of the impression I got. Like, we don't want her anymore.
Yeah. Too late.
So we close down the episode. There is not a whole lot of trivia for this episode at all. I know we say that a lot, but I mean, there's literally bone dry trivia here, unless Jimbo's got some on the other side.
No, I do not. There wasn't much in the way of that either. So in the other books I have.
Right. So just a few things. This is the same set that was used on Walking Distance, A Stop at Willoughby, I Sing the Body Electric, the house and everything. If you guys remember back to those episodes.
I do believe in the I Sing a Body Electric. I think it's the same street that Elsa goes running across, remember?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
That's the same one where that other little girl goes running across.
Mm-hmm. This is kind of somewhat interesting. Claudia Breyer, Frau Nelson, later played a townsperson in the 1985 adaptation of The Twilight Zone. And then Barbara Baxley, who played Cora Wheeler, also played in the Twilight Zone 1985. She was in the episode Profile in Silver Button. That was the 1985. Well, it actually was released in 1986, but it was the later 80s version of the Twilight Zone. Boy, there's just really nothing at all. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to let you guys go for your conclusion, thoughts, feelings, ratings.
Hey, buckle up, Buttercup. It's about to get bumpy.
You can draw straws to see who goes first.
I'll tell you what I like about this episode. There you have it. No,
I couldn't agree more.
I got it. I got it telepathically. I got it.
I actually like this episode. Okay. And here's why. Number one, that scene where he teaching her how to do in the book moves is just cinematography gold. I love that to pieces. But the pain that is shown from Cora from the loss of her daughter, trying to replace, because all that love and sorrow that she has, she wants to bestow it upon a child that lost their parents. It's the same thing, but different. Same, but different. So a person loses a child loses their parents. It's almost like a reunion, like a happy reunion, because there's so much love to give and so much sorrow that it works. Now, maybe the way she was trying to go about it by like, can we just keep her like in Willow when the baby washes up and they're like, Dada, it's a Daikini baby. Can we keep it? And Willow's like, no. And she's like, oh, Willow, Cora, I said no. And she never listens to him. But so the husband's trying to do the right thing by reaching out to the extended relatives and try to find the next of kin, if you will. The whole burning the house down, I wish they would have explained it a little bit different. I don't really even know they said what started the fire. Was it an overturned lantern? Were they cooking hamburgers and the grease caught on fire? Don't know. So I wish we would have found that answer out. The teacher does an amazing job in this. Her acting is good because you hate her. We all sat here and said we hated this lady. The bullying that she did, she made the kids bully her. There's a lot of that's going on in schools today, to a far greater extent than what this was. But they were bullying her, and you felt sorry for Ilsa. Like she wanted to say something, but she just couldn't. I mean, you see the tears in her eyes, and the teacher's just hardcore, man. Like, put your hand out, let me hit it with the. I thought she was going to beat her with that ruler at one point. She grabbed that stick or whatever. Now here's where I don't know if you guys thought about this. Let me ask you. I'm going to I'm going to answer, but I'm going to ask you a question first. Do you think this was a happy ending? Yes or no? Just a yes or no question.
I think so.
I'm going to say no.
Okay. So here we are at the end of the episode, and we're celebrating the couple that came and saying, oh, we're just going to leave her. We're going to go back. It doesn't erase everything that you guys made that pact for at the beginning of the movie, what you were going to do to your kids. They are bad people.
Are they?
Their parents were bad people. Her parents were bad people. They signed it just because you made this pact, and what right do you have to tell your kid you're not going to learn how to talk, right?
So it's a happy ending because she got free from the quote unquote bad people.
But we're like, oh, this couple did the right thing by letting her stay because love conquers all, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you would have had love to begin with, people, this would have never been an issue. She would have never had to deal with these bullies in school. She would never think. We can track that back into Epstein list and Epstein Island and all that. What's happening there too, right?
Okay, tell us how those connect.
Well, if I have to connect all the dots, Eric, this wouldn't be a podcast, right? That's why we got a teacher, a myth, so he can connect the dots. But I'm just saying, so you've got all this going on, and you've got all these people that are on the Epstein list or fake list, whatever you want to call it, the flight logs, the whatever. There's actors on there. There's musicians on there. There's presidents on there. There's rappers. There's all these people, sports figures. There's all these people on this list. Do you think that everybody that appears on this list is bad?
Not necessarily, I guess. If just to have it depends on what level of association, I guess, that you have with that particular person.
Right. But from the outside world looking in, if you are associated with the Epstein list or Epstein in any formality, like if Eric sat next to Epstein at a Pacer game and he didn't know who Jeff Epstein was, then Eric's automatically a bad guy. And I'm not defending Jeffrey Epstein. I think they should all just, go to jail, every single one of them.
So the Nielsen's are like Epstein?
Kind of, not kind-ish. I mean, what, we could take her away from her family? The other kids, why did the other kids get to stay together?
Well, I think in the beginning it stated that the uncle had property in the States, and that's why it was like...
okay, so if the uncle had property in the States and he was so committed to this group, if you will, because I do believe the Nielsen's were the one that were kind of pushing back a little bit at the beginning of the episode, right? Was it them or was it another couple? I don't know. I think it
was Frau and her husband that were
so if he was so committed to this and he had property in America, why wouldn't he sell that property and buy property wherever he is to keep this compound together?
That's what I said at the beginning of the podcast. I said they should have never
stayed
moved
in
to
Europe.
America.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They should have stayed in America. It's like, if you're going to have this village, this community, this cult, whatever you want to call it, then you can't leave. You have to be 100% committed. That's why you signed the paperwork.
I got you.
You have to be 100% committed. Exactly. Everybody's got to stay there.
Exactly.
And whether or not the ending is a happy ending.
Yeah, that's the question that you posed at the beginning, Jimbo. Right. What's your answer? Is it a happy ending or not?
I think it's a yes and no question. Yes, it's a happy ending for Elsa because she found love with the family and the mother found love for a daughter that she lost. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a happy ending also because the bad guys got away, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Their crimes from the past doesn't matter.
So teaching children to communicate telepathically is a crime or should be criminal?
Or just might be morally questionable. Maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
If they would have said, we're going to teach you to talk and read and write and everything and also communicate telepathically, then it would be okay. But to solely say, you're only going to do this telepathically, because that's how she was brought up, right? They never communicated to her.
Mm-hmm. So
how did she learn the boat and everything with the pictures moving and all that? And her dad's telling her, what's he saying? What do you see? Is this a boat? He's telepathically telling her what this is. So how did that, let's think about it. How did that stunt Ella's social skills?
Well, if she had stayed in her community, none at all.
Thank you. Right. But now that she's in America and ruined,
Bond wins the day because he stated this very early in the episode.
And at the very beginning, I was like, don't leave. Yeah, don't leave. Don't leave.
No, I just think...
I don't think it's child abuse to teach your child how to communicate telepathically. Just like if you were to come, let's say you only spoke German and you moved to America and you told your child, we are American now. We don't speak German. There will be no German spoken in this house. We are in America. You speak English. And that's what people used to do. Like when, 100 years ago, when you came to America,
assimilation,
you assimilate to the point where, no, we only speak English in this house. We don't speak, whatever language from your native country was.
When people would come through Ellis Island and apply to be get their immigration, right, that they had to read a full chapter or something or page in English. The father did. The mother didn't have to, but the father did to get his citizenship.
Wow.
Right. So
we've covered Epstein and immigration in this episode.
I'm all over it.
We're cleaning house around here.
So the couple from Austria, they aren't bad guys because they didn't communicate in English. Although here's something that bothers me a lot. Oh, well, I'll let you finish and then I'll go next.
Jimbo. Yeah, Jimbo, what's your prop piece and what are you rating? Oh, you already stated your prop
piece was now for the rating. I like this episode. I really do. Give me the old 7.5 on the Richter scale for this one.
All right.
I think it's above average. I think it's a fun watch. That teacher just sets it off though. I mean, we've all had that one teacher that, she may have been really, really hard on you. And I'll drop a name and Eric can probably agree with this, but we had this one teacher.
Don't do it.
I had her twice. I had her twice and her name. And Bon, when I tell you she was hard on us. But you know what? When you grow up and you reflect back on the teachers you had, those are the ones that you remember the most because she loved teaching. I mean, obviously to have me and ADZ in her class, she had to love children.
I feel sorry for the woman.
Oh yeah. But, I look back and when you have an elementary teacher like that, because I had her, I think, 2nd and 4th grade, if I remember correctly. I'm getting older now. So did you only have her once, Eric?
Yeah, I had her 1 year.
Yeah. Were you in the bell choir too?
I was.
So you can tell that she loved kids, now that you're older and you look back to put up with some of the stuff that she was hard on us. But, Eric, given the old 6-7, were you?
That love for kids was very well disguised. It didn't shine through as well as it could have.
From her back in those days. Did you ever get paddled in school, Eric?
God rest her soul.
Yeah,
she's no longer with us.
Who was your favorite teacher? Mine was Mrs. Warren, I think.
Yeah. I'm going to go in the middle. If you're finished, that way Bond can have the last word because I know I don't have very much.
They shouldn't have left. That's it.
Yeah, go for it, man. Go next.
I appreciate it. So I'm going to a lot of the same things. I've had some cantankerous teachers in my day, as we've talked about, but this mean old crank takes the cake, right? I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Here's the one thing I will say though. She showed zero compassion, especially for someone with a similar shared experience, right? They connected on that level where the teacher was, she was wrong. She thought that Ilsa was dredging up the dead through seance and whatnot. She was wrong, but they had that experience. So you would think that would elicit a little bit of compassion, but it was the exact opposite by the teacher. She was completely trying to humiliate her, cause trauma. And here's my thing. I'm going to go against Jimbo on this one. I realize that the trauma of losing a child would cause someone to be emotionally fragile, but Cora's acting is way over the top. In every scene, she's either screaming or on the verge of, breaking down in every scene. And maybe I'm being too hard on her. Maybe that's just actually good acting. And, but I think it was probably on purpose because she was juxtaposed to Harry Wheeler's stoicism, right? He's the exact opposite of his wife. I mean, you start to wonder if Harry is even human. And you wonder if he's even got a human emotion in his body at all. I think that would have been a great twist, as Harry is a robot cop from the future who hunts telepaths and destroys them. That would have been a lot more exciting.
That would have been an episode
of an episode. I think that would have jazzed it up a little bit. Yeah, that's all I really got. I want the glass stovetop coffee maker as my prop piece because it reminds me of the one my grandmother used when I was a kid. And today would have been her 96th birthday. She was born February 14th, 1930. Birthday. So happy birthday, Grandma.
Happy Valentine's Day. So, okay, before you go, Bon, let me read. I found this in the book. This may be what triggered my mind when I was reading it. So let me see your thoughts after I read this. So in 1962, Richard Matheson wrote a novelette entitled Mute. Initially, it was published in The Fiend NU, edited by Charles Beaumont, then subsequently in Matheson's Shock 2. The story concerns a telepathic boy who, following the death of his parents, must contend with well-meaning adults who mistake his silence for traumatized muteness. Matheson adopted this story for Twilight Zone, retaining the basic story but changing the gender of the child. What emerged was an episode that was crushingly pro-conformity. What is so disturbing, particularly to anyone who believes the talent, got to turn the page, and individuality are sacred items, is the manner in which the story evolves. With the exception of the child herself, virtually all of the main characters are either brutishly insensitive or cruelly neurotic. As Sheriff Harry Wheeler, Frank Overton exhibits none of the warmth and perceptiveness he showed as the father in Walking Distance. Instead, he is cool and undemonstrative.
Definitely.
His wife, Cora, is a selfish, hysterical woman.
That's a good word.
Who professes to love Ilsa, but is actually manically intent on keeping possession of a child she irrationally feels is her own daughter returned to her. Then there is Miss Frank, the school teacher. She spells her character out clearly to her class when she says of Ilsa, "We are going to work with her until she's exactly like everybody else." In the end, when Ilsa is traumatized into screaming, "My name is Ilsa," which Eric played earlier, over and over and over again, it is a triumph of sadistic and misguided teaching methods. Paradoxically, this is treated as a happy ending. And to allay any suspicions that what we have been watching is actually a tragedy, Matheson provides a final scene involving the German couple who were participants in the original telepathy experiment. Having come with the intention of taking Ilsa to join others of her kind, they change their minds when they see that now, although she has lost her telepathic ability, she has gained love. And that is so much more important than telepathy. This convenient reverse is neither satisfying nor convincing. Without intending to, Mute focuses in on a terrible aspect of real life. Those adults who commit secret atrocities against children, whose deeds never come to light, who are never punished for their actions. As most often in real life, the villains get away scot-free. Their brutality is utterly successful in destroying a special and vulnerable talent. The problem with Mute is that instead of taking a moral stand against this behavior, it rationalizes these monstrous acts. As Richard Matheson himself says, it's not that bad because she's found a home and found a loving parents, which she did lose, so it's 6 of one and half dozen of the other. There is one issue that Mute fails to answer. Love may be more important than telepathy, but what kind of life will Ilsa have with such parents and such a teacher? And that was from the Twilight Zone Companion by Mark Scott Zickery, which I hope everybody goes out and buys if you can find a copy.
I see the connection that you were trying to make now.
Right. Sorry, I went around it a long way, but the those that do things to children need to be held accountable. Is basically what
agreed, 100%. Bond.
Sure. Oh wait, what'd you give this one out of 10?
I'm gonna give it like a same, probably 6.5, 7, probably a 7. I might bump it up a little
7?
bit. 6, 7. 6, 7.
Could go either way. I love the facts and all the things that we were able to find in this episode. This is what makes the Twilight Zone episodes so great, is you can dissect them to this degree. And I think that's what makes all this stuff so entertaining and so fun, is the fact that we can take an episode about a telepathic little girl and break it down like this. Is it child abuse? How does it all end up? Those kind of things. I don't know. I personally, when I saw the teacher, I was like, okay, I need a ruler. I need a chalkboard.
He's taking notes.
I need a sign in the background that says brush your teeth. Another one that says make sure your shoes are shined. I was like,
Chew your food 40
I was
times.
I was taking notes on that teacher. She was hardcore, man. I wasn't a big fan of the would-be mom. I think she's a month away from having Ilsa dress like her dead daughter.
Ooh.
Dye her hair, wear her clothes. You know what I'm saying? She was already staying in her room.
Yeah.
Staying in the dead daughter's bedroom. So it seems like one of those situations that could become another episode of the Twilight Zone where she starts turning her into her dead daughter kind of thing.
Mommy dearest.
And they never give the sheriff's opinion on whether or not he wants a daughter.
It's it's true.
It's like, hey, okay, well, I guess I have a daughter now. It's kind of weird.
He was kind of like the forgotten character of the episode.
Yeah, and it's sad because he was a really good character. I really liked him, man. This episode's, I thought it was pretty good. It makes you question all these things, considering it's an episode about a little girl who doesn't talk, or, half of it's not speaking. It's all just dialogue and intense faces. I thought it was pretty good. I give it probably a 7 because it's probably one of the best episodes of season 5 that we've seen this year. If not the best episode of the first 5 episodes, it might be number 1 or 2, definitely. So I'm going to put it right there. So my prop piece, you're going to have to open up your memory banks.
Okay.
So a flame.
When Frau Nelson and Holger Nelson, when they first get to town and they get off the bus, and there's like this bum sitting on a park bench, right? And they're all, excuse me, where can I speak to authorities? Right? And he goes, what? He's got this weird, like, chicken bone thing that he's carving. I was like, what is he doing? He's carving a chicken bone?
Bond is going deep.
I was like, what? Yeah, is he whittling something? What is that in his hand? And even like the second time when I watched it again today to refresh my memory, I was looking at that thing going, it looks like a chicken leg, but he's carving it like it's a piece of wood. So I don't know. Maybe he makes like little art pieces out of leftover chicken bones. So that's going to be my little prop piece, just so I can take a closer look at it and see exactly what that crazy old man sitting outside was doing with that thing.
Nice. You guys want a preview of next week's episode?
Bring it on.
Mr. Richard Matheson lets his typewriter pay us a return visit next time out on Twilight Zone with a story called Death Ship. Now, this one is for science fiction aficionados, ghost story buffs, and any and all who file away clues with an eye toward outguessing the writer. Next on Twilight Zone, Messrs. Jack Klugman, Ross Martin, and Fred Beer take an extended trip through space on a death ship.
Captain, something glittered down there.
What is it? Something down there?
Mason thinks so.
There was something.
We stay together. No one takes any risks. That's an order, Mason.
Stay tuned.
All right. If you like what you heard, you can reach us on Facebook, the Tragedy of Cinema podcast group. Join in there. We post some crazy stuff in there sometimes. Like you might see me in an Elvis wig that I'm wearing during this recording with Doc Brown's sunglasses from Back to the Future 2, I do believe. 1, 2, somewhere in there.
2.
Bond's got a little beanie on his head with a little helicopter blade on top. Harry just being a grumpy old man. So if you want to follow us there, you want to reach us, we are the tragedycinema@gmail.com. You can send us an email. But with that being said, I think this episode's coming to clues because Stone Cold said so. I'm kidding. And that's a wrap.
And
cut.
It has been noted in a book of proven wisdom that perfect love casteth out fear. While it's unlikely that this observation was meant to include that specific fear which follows the loss of extrasensory perception, the principle remains, as always, beautifully intact. Case in point, that of Ilsa Nielsen, former resident of the Twilight Zone.